afternoon. My name is Johnnie Kirkland Anderson, and I am a graduate of Tuskegee at that time Institute, and I had some dealings with Dr. Carver during my years in school. Dr. Carver passed away in about 1943, but prior to that, I was enrolled in home economics, and we had classes that we had to do internships, like, you know, teachers have to do practice teaching, and a couple of the areas was in the nursery. We had a nursery school where we took care mostly the children of the faculty members, and it was housed in what was then Dorothy Hall, which is right next to Dr. Carver's museum. It's at the extreme west end of Dr. Carver's museum. What? And this housed the nursery. Well, in back of Dr. Carver's museum and in the back of Dorothy Hall was a big open lawn area. And there was a back door to the same area we used for a playground for our nursery school kids. And of course, he was out working with his paints, and he liked to talk to children. So we visited him quite often. He'd talking to the children and visiting with us. Remember 1944 has been a long time ago, and we just took everything for granted. We didn't realize that this would be history. And those are the things that I remember that he had out there, but I'm sure he had others. And that was a personal relationship with him, visited with him just on a casual basis and with the children, and directing them to stay away from the works that he had out there. The next experience I had was, this was during World War II. During that time, foods were rationed, canned goods were rationed, sugar, fats, and meat. And meat was the scarcest because the war came on quite suddenly, and they had to send the meat to the soldiers to keep them strong and healthy. So Dr. Carver was always trying to develop things that would help the farmers. And at that time, you had extension service in Alabama, but it was separated. The Black Extension Service headquarters was housed in Tuskegee. And of course, since Dr. Carver came to Tuskegee, he had always been interested in agriculture and developing things that would help mostly rural people, black people. But the benefit of Dr. Carver's work reached everyone. He didn't isolate it. It just went out for the world to use. But anyway, he worked with peanuts a lot, and peanuts is high in protein. So then he started trying to develop some way to fit peanuts into the regular diet. We ate peanuts, but it was mostly recreational, you know. So then Dorothy Hall was the guest house for all of the important people that came to the campus. Well, in order to be sure that they were fed right, they hired a real chef who had had experience in New York and wherever. Tuskegee always took advantage of their students to get things done. So in order to have help in this kitchen to feed the guests, they incorporated a class in with this chef who was named Mr. Lomax. Everybody wanted to get into Mr. Lomax's class because he knew how to cook big-time stuff like they had in the hotels in New York. So Dr. Carver, any of the experiments that needed to be cooked, he'd bring it over to that kitchen. And I happened to be in one of the classes that did an experiment with peanuts, cooking them with beans to add more protein. Of course, and like I said, at that time we took all of that for granted. And I don't remember what it tasted like, but if it worked out okay, he would put it in his bulletins, pass it on to the Extension Service, then it would go out to the people in the state through the Extension Service, a way to have more protein in their diet if they weren't getting enough meat. And the next experience that I had, well, there's a couple more. One was these experiments and the things that he developed what he called a movable school. And if you've been into Dr. Carver's museum, there's a replica of a movable school. It's a van that carried all the equipment that the extension agents needed to take out with them when they went out on the farms.